Hello and welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where it is another day and it's another Barca news roundup. Thank you here for joining me today, and we've got some really exciting news to run through, in particular the goalkeeping situation at Barca that's really come to light again here. Lots to go over on that basis, but we've also got plenty of transfer news as well. And today, guys, we've got new names to discuss in the left wing position. We're going to be talking about Antonio Nusa, and we're also going to be discussing a name that we're all familiar with. Xavi Simmons is on the agenda, so come on and let's get to it. And just a quick message, guys, just to say right here, if you are looking this summer maybe at a few of our transfer targets, if you'd like to look at their stats across the season, if you'd like to look at their recent matches, again, we're mentioning no names in particular here, but you should do all of that on the SofaScore app. So if you would like to download it and get all of the fantastic insights that SofaScore can offer, please do download it using the link in the description down below. Just follow that link, it's free to download, and in doing that, you also really help the channel. So thank you, guys, and let's get on to the latest news. But if we do indeed begin right here with a confirmed deal at the club, because today Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Barca have now agreed a deal to sign 18-year-old Croatian midfielder Lavro Cheli. Now, Fabrizio says that this young man here was linked with a move to the Premier League, but he will now be joining up with Barca's youth team, as we have reached an agreement there with his club in Croatia. Now, who just is this young talent right here? He is 18 years old, he is Croatian, he plays primarily as an attacking midfielder there, but I would just invite all the Croatians here who are fans of Barca on the channel, can you tell us more about this young man, what he could bring, how good he may be? And what I also have to stress on this particular deal is that this is another Andy Barra client. That is interesting there. Of course, he is the agent of Dani Olmo. He was very key in all of those negotiations and the registration situations with Olmo. And of course, this summer, Andy Barra is also the agent of Joan Garcia. So that is interesting there, and it may explain and it may tie in with this particular deal. But that is not the only official news that has been happening at the club, because overnight we did receive the news that Sznney has renewed at the club now until 2027. That's an interesting one there. I think we were all under the illusion that it may be a one-year deal, but this right here is a 2-year deal from the club for Sznney, and I think that really underlines just how happy they were with him last season. You know, the way that he came in, not only the way that he performed, but actually how he performed on such short notice coming into the club, having effectively retired from the game. And I think the club also really value here the character that he has shown at the club. I think he's been a really important figure in the dressing room. He's a calming influence there. He's highly experienced, and ultimately he knows and understands his role. He's not going to make a fuss. He's not going to cause problems. So the club really happy here to keep him around. And I think this right here is yet another big call, big decision that just shows us Ter Stegen is not in the plans of the club. He is not in Hansi Flick's plans this season. Because honestly, if there was going to be a way back in for Ter Stegen, you could have just had, well, Joan Garcia and Ter Stegen battling it out for the number 1 jersey. But ultimately then, there would have been no need to renew Sznney. We have Iñaki Peña at the club as well. So I think right here, the club counting on Sznney, he is going to be the club's second goalkeeper. That is clear. And Joan Garcia will be the number 1. So the club's plan is absolutely crystal clear. Joan Garcia number 1, Sznney number 2. And that is why right here, on the 13th of July, when the squad come back to pre-season training, Flick will tell Ter Stegen to his face, in no uncertain terms, you are not in my plans. You will not play here. You are not going to be part here of my lineup. This is not going to happen. Because at this moment in time, Ter Stegen is still unmoved. Everything that we hear in the media about his future is he's not leaving. He has no intention of leaving. If he is to leave, he wants to be paid up right up until 2028. He wants his full contract paid by Barca before he can even think about leaving the club. So I guess right now, it's going to be interesting once pre-season starts. Once that conversation happens with Hansi Flick, it's going to come down to whether Ter Stegen wants to actually play football next season in a World Cup year, don't forget, or is he genuinely going to be happy to be Barca's third goalkeeper? Because there is also the matter right now of Iñaki Peña. He is still at the club, although he is looking outside of it, because he knows in his mind that he could technically stay here for one more year before his contract then expires next year, and he could get a nice signing on bonus with his next club. But given the fact that he knows he's not going to play, Peña apparently has no intention of doing that. He does want to leave the club this summer, he does want to play football, and he also doesn't want to cause a problem for the club. So do expect Peña to leave before the end of this transfer window. And can I also just say right here today, guys, another man who's returned early to training, even before pre-season starts, it is Joan Garcia. He is very eager here to make his mark, to show what he can do, to prove himself, and he's already back in training at the Ciutat Esportiva. That is great to see, and exactly what we need from our number one. But if we do indeed move on to, again, let's talk about the left side of this Barcelona team. Let's talk about left wingers. And let's start again with Luis Diaz, because I've got to go over something that came out in the media last night. It's also been confirmed again this morning about this reported, it's either a release clause or it's a gentleman's agreement or it's just Liverpool's valuation. But either way, the fee apparently this summer for Luis Diaz, it will be 82 million euros, or round about the 80 million euro mark. Now, can we all just agree we're not going to pay that? You know, Barca, let's just say we are not going to go there. Please, there's no need to do that. Please, let's not do that. 80 million euros. Luis Diaz, good player, no doubt about that. Good player. I'm not disrespecting him. No disrespect at all. But 82 million for a 28-year-old, it cannot happen. Barca, do not go there. Do not think about it. So let's move on then to some other names. Let's move on. Let's suggest here some other targets, and let's discuss what has recently come to light in the media. Because let's talk about Antonio Nusa. Now, this is somebody that people have been crying out for. You know, I know there's so many Barca fans right now that right the way through this summer, when we've been talking about other players, big transfer fees, big wages, they've all been saying, why aren't we looking at Nusa? He's an incredibly talented young player, 20 years old, plays right now for RB Leipzig, and he is a massive talent. He's improving with every game. He's a really, really excellent option. And of course, he's significantly cheaper. He would be in terms of a transfer fee. He would be in terms of wages than people like Diaz, people like Nico Williams. And I think it's been said very, very well here by Dalian. Why are we not going for him? Why is he not in the conversation? You can see the potential. And I'd also just argue people will sort of look at Nusa's stats. They'll look very closely into that without maybe having watched him. Stats don't really tell the full story. He has been playing actually in a number of different roles at Leipzig. He's also impressed a lot with the national team. And I don't think stats really tell the story when it comes to him. You've got to watch him. You've got to see the talent in full flow. But what I would say about Nusa is it came out yesterday that Barca have actually scouted this young man, and not only have they scouted him once, scouted him twice, scouted him 3 times maybe, it has actually emerged that Barca have scouted him over 10 times. They have sent scouts there to see what Nusa has got, to see what he's doing. And I would just argue there, you don't scout a player that many times there, over and over and over again, if there's not something there that intrigues you, something there that interests you about the player. Quite clearly, Barca have got good reports on Nusa. They are liking what they are seeing, but it remains to be seen at this point whether they will make a move, whether they will actually go this early on for Nusa, because it kind of feels like the deal whereby it's that exciting young player. He's still raw, you know, he still needs improvement, he still needs some very good coaching as well, I would argue, something that Flick could definitely give him, but it's almost like Barca don't always like making this move. You know, it's almost like they'd rather him go somewhere else for a pretty cheap transfer fee in the modern game, and then in sort of 2 or 3 years, 4 years, we're paying 60, 70, 80 million euros for him. So I think sometimes we've got to take that gamble. We've got to take that risk, get in there early, before then, further down the line, you're having to pay 2, 3, 4 times the amount of money that you would be paying right now. Which does indeed bring us on to talk about Xavi Simmons. Now, this is a really interesting situation and actually ties in there with a lot of what we've just been saying. And he's also somebody, coincidentally, who is currently playing his football at RB Leipzig, who Barca do have a very good relationship with there. Given the negotiations we went through with them with Dani Olmo, the clubs actually get on very, very well. And what's interesting about Xavi Simmons right now, according to the media, is that Hansi Flick has apparently suggested his name this summer. That has only recently happened inside of the club. Flick has mentioned the name of Xavi Simmons. He would see him as a good fit, and he's just basically asked the question. And you know what? I actually do believe that here. I believe this is a suggestion that comes direct from Hansi Flick, and maybe not from Deco. And the reason that I know that is because he'd actually be a good option for the club. So there's that. But seriously, guys, honestly right now, this report comes from a Catalan media outlet, Esport 3, who interestingly have quite a few links there to Joan Laporta and his board. So make of that what you will. And what we're hearing right now on Xavi Simmons is that this summer, RB Leipzig would be looking at a starting fee, perhaps, of 70 to 80 million euros. Now, just to put into context here, Xavi Simmons, they actually broke their transfer record back in January now to sign him permanently from PSG for 50 million up front with 31 million euros in bonuses. Now, I would say not many of those bonuses had a chance yet to be reached, so we're looking at maybe around 50 million that they paid for him. But the crucial thing here, Xavi Simmons wants to leave the club this summer. Leipzig had a poor season, failed to qualify there for the Champions League. So Simmons is looking for a way out, and Barca apparently feel as though that transfer fee, it could be negotiated. Like I say, they get on well with Leipzig. They managed to negotiate very successfully with them for Dani Olmo. His price actually started around the 75 million euro mark. We got that down in the end to 60 million. And it also should be mentioned that a good payment structure would be very, very possible. I would say this could be an easier deal to do than, say, dealing, well, obviously with Athletic Club and also with Liverpool. Leipzig here maybe, we would agree, more favourable terms. But would he be a good fit? You know, is he worth that kind of money? Well, I would say right now, he's 22 years old, still very, very young, still improving. I think already he's a fantastic player. You know, he is an absolutely phenomenal player there. I think he's versatile as well. He can play in a number of different roles. He could fit in very, very well, in my opinion, to this Hansi Flick team. And ultimately with Xavi Simmons, I mean, the guy knows the club. He did come through La Masia. It's a shame that he left. It's a shame that we're having to go back and sort of pay big, big money to get him now. But it's no secret, when we've been linked with him before, he'd love to come back. He would love to return and play again in a Barcelona shirt. And I feel as well that he'd be somebody who would be easier to get registered than somebody like Luis Diaz and, of course, Nico Williams. And what I would say right now, with regard to Xavi Simmons, in my opinion, 70, 80 million, it would still be high. You know, I'm still not really that comfortable with Barca shelling out absolutely massive money this summer. But what I would say to the club right now is, well, if you are desperate to spend, and it kind of seems like they are, if they're talking about Luis Diaz, they're talking about 60, 70, 80 million, it kind of seems as though that money is burning a hole in their pocket. Well, if you're desperate to spend 80 million, in my opinion, I'd rather spend it on somebody like Xavi Simmons as opposed to Luis Diaz this summer. But that's if we're talking about big, big money. And if we had to go out and spend it, I mean, ideally still, there must be room for negotiation here. I would like to see if Barca could get that fee down a little bit. You know, say we were talking about 60 million paid in installments over many, many years. If Xavi Simmons accepted a decent wage at the club, didn't shred our wage structure or anything like that, I think it's definitely a deal to consider. I can understand why Flick has maybe put that name forward. He can see him as part of his plans. And I'm just interested, guys, what do you make of these latest rumours here? Xavi Simmons, would he be a good signing? How much would you pay to make it happen this summer? What is the maximum amount that you would be willing to spend? Do you think that he would be a good winger coming into the club? Or would you be looking at somebody like Antonio Nusa, a bit of a lower profile, a younger player, a little bit more rough around the edges, but of course, significantly cheaper, you cannot forget, guys. So let me know in the comments down below right here, everything that we've discussed today. I want to know your thoughts, and I will see you soon, because the news, it keeps on coming, and what are Barca going to do next? That's the fun bit, and I will see all of you soon. Thank you indeed for watching, guys. But until next time, as always, Vejka, El Barça!